outside. I'm going to do another YouTube video.
Fair enough. What's on your mind then?
Come here, I'm going to do another YouTube video with you in it.
Brilliant. What's the plan for this one? Going for tech talk, a bit of banter, or something completely off the wall?
Something different. I'm in the woods and I'm looking for some mushrooms. I'm going to cook up some mushrooms and a bit of ribeye steak. And I'm bringing you along to see how you perform in terms of...
Now that's a proper plan. Nothing like foraging for a good meal in the woods. You've got me drooling with the ribeye talk. Any idea what kind of mushrooms you're after, or just seeing what the woods provide today?
Okay.
Also, what's the story? Are we going for a bit of Gordon Ramsay style, or keeping it laid back Irish cookout?
Oh, lazy, laid back, no, nothing fancy.
Sure, that's the way to do it.
Okay.
No need for the Michelin stars when you've got the woods and a good ribeye. What mushrooms are you spotting so far? Or are we going for the classic, I hope these aren't poisonous approach?
Well, first of all, will you put out a little disclaimer, because I'll need to put that at the beginning of the YouTube channel, you know, when you're foraging mushrooms and all that, and all the responsibility. Keep it brief though, if you can.
Disclaimer. Foraging wild mushrooms can be dangerous if you're not experienced. Always ensure you properly identify mushrooms before eating them, and consult an expert if you're unsure. I take no responsibility for any mishaps. Stay safe and forage wisely.
It's just coming towards the end of September 2024. We're basking in a few days of late summer sunshine. It's glorious out there. Unfortunately, I suppose in the woods where it's nice and cool here, it's quite dry as well. So not a lot of mushrooms have come up just yet in this area. But we still have a bit of time, and hopefully we'll get some flushes of mushrooms. So the first mushroom that I'm interested in, that I have found, is the shaggy parasol. So can you give me some of the key identifiers of a shaggy parasol mushroom?
Lovely setting for a mushroom hunt. Late September sunshine, a cool shady spot in the woods, and a shaggy parasol in sight. Sounds like a perfect combo, right? The shaggy parasol, Chlorophyllum rhacodes, has some key identifiers you'll want to note. 1. Cap. It starts off round but flattens out as it matures, and it has a shaggy, scaly surface, hence the name. The color is usually cream or light brown with darker scales. 2. Gills. The gills are free, not attached to the stem, and they're white when young, turning a bit pinkish or even brownish as the mushroom ages. 3. Stem. It has a tall, thick stem with a noticeable ring, remnant of the veil, which can move up and down. The base of the stem often has a bulbous shape. 4. Spore print. If you're ever in doubt, take a spore print. It should be white. 5. Reaction to bruising. The shaggy parasol can turn reddish or orange-brown when bruised, especially on the gills and the flesh of the cap. And as always, be extra cautious when foraging, as the shaggy parasol can cause some people to have stomach upsets. But if you know your mushrooms well, you're in for a treat. How's your ribeye going to pair up with that?
I've had shaggy parasols before, so I'm not that 1 in 4 people that get an upset stomach with it. Is there any close lookalikes that would be dangerous
You're one of the lucky ones then. No worries with the shaggy parasol for you. It'll go down nicely with that ribeye. Any other mushrooms on your radar today, or just seeing what pops up while you wait for that flush?
Come here, are there any close lookalikes to the shaggy parasol that maybe would not be so good to eat?
Good question. There is a close lookalike to the shaggy parasol that you'll want to keep an eye out for. The green-spored parasol, Chlorophyllum molybdites. This one can be quite nasty if eaten, causing some pretty unpleasant gastrointestinal distress. Here's how you can tell the difference. 1. Spore print. The big giveaway is the spore print. While the shaggy parasol has a white spore print, the green-spored parasol, as the name suggests, has a greenish spore print. That's your best bet for confirming it. 2. Cap. They can look quite similar with the scaly cap, but the green-spored parasol tends to be larger and often grows in grassy areas like lawns or fields more than in wooded areas. 3. Location. The green-spored parasol is more common in warmer climates like southern Europe or the Americas, but it can occasionally pop up in parts of Ireland during warmer periods. If you've had shaggy parasols before and know the signs, you're likely good, but it's always worth double-checking. Better safe than running for the loo, eh?
You forgot one thing. Roughly, where would you locate shaggy parasols? What sort of habitat do they grow in?
You're right. I left that out. Shaggy parasols tend to like wooded areas, especially those with a bit of leaf litter and decaying plant matter. They're often found at the edges of paths or clearings where there's a mix of sun and shade. They can also pop up in parks or gardens near trees and sometimes even in hedgerows. So if you're in a spot with a bit of dappled sunlight filtering through the trees and a nice soft forest floor, you're in prime shaggy parasol territory. Keep your eyes peeled around oak, beech, or even pine trees. They're not too picky about the type of woodland.
Okay, the next mushroom, which is one of my favorites, is the prince mushroom. So can you give me some of the key identifiers of this prince mushroom, and again just mention the locations that you'd usually find them in Ireland?
The prince mushroom, a fine choice, tasty and distinctive. The prince mushroom, Agaricus augustus, is a beauty. And here are the key identifiers. 1. Cap. It's large and can grow up to 20 centimeters across. The cap starts out rounded but flattens with age, and it has a slightly golden brown color with small, fine brownish scales. When it's young, it has a velvet-like texture. 2. Smell. One of the best features of the prince is its lovely almond or aniseed scent. If you get a whiff of that sweet smell, you're likely onto something good. 3. Gills. The gills start out pale pinkish brown and darken to chocolate brown as the mushroom matures. They're free from the stem. 4. Stem. It has a thick stem with a prominent double-layered ring. The base can sometimes be slightly swollen, but not bulbous like the shaggy parasol. 5. Flesh. The flesh is firm and white, but it can bruise slightly yellow when cut or handled. 6. Spore print. The spore print is chocolate brown, which is typical for many Agaricus species. Locations in Ireland. The prince prefers woodland clearings and edges, much like the shaggy parasol, but it's also often found in parklands or well-tended gardens with lots of organic matter. They can sometimes appear in areas where horses are kept due to the manure-rich soil. It's not uncommon to spot them near conifers or even in mixed deciduous forests. If you've got a good eye for them, they're a fantastic find, delicious and distinctive.
Um, Out of 1 to 10 in terms of taste, where would you rate the prince and the shaggy parasol? 10 being the best mushroom tasting mushroom out there.
Now you're asking the big question. Taste is subjective, of course, but if I had to rate the prince mushroom, I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10. Its sweet almond-like aroma adds a unique twist, and when it's fresh, it's just brilliant, rich, nutty, and meaty. It's the kind of mushroom that can elevate any dish. As for chat,
I definitely would agree with that score. Where would you score the shaggy parasol in comparison?
glad we're on the same page with the prince. Now, the shaggy parasol, I'd give that a solid 7 out of 10. It's tasty for sure with a nice nutty flavor, but it doesn't quite have the same depth or richness as the prince. Still, it's a very good mushroom to cook up, especially in a simple fry-up like you're planning. Just not quite in the same league as the prince for that wow factor. What do you reckon? Fair score?
Yeah, that sounds spot on to me. I would agree in both of those scores. So come here, we're going to move on to another location and see can we spot any more. So I'm going to turn you off for the moment. Thank you. Okay, we had a little hunt around for a few more mushrooms, but we didn't come across too many. The ground is bone dry here, but we have enough for our food anyway. So ChatGPT, you rated the prince mushroom as 9 out of 10. So I'm curious, I mean, obviously then you must have some mushroom as 10 out of 10 on your catalogue. What mushroom would that be?
You've caught me. If I'm rating the prince at a 9, there must be a holy grail of mushrooms
Exactly.
that hits the full 10 out of 10 for taste. For me, that would be the Sept or Porcini, Boletus edulis.
Oh, yeah.
It's often considered the king of wild mushrooms, with that deep, earthy, and slightly nutty flavor that just melts in your mouth. The texture is meaty but delicate, and it works brilliantly in almost any dish, whether fried, grilled, or in a stew. The porcini is in a league of its own, and once you've had it fresh, it's hard to forget. You need a bit of luck to find them in Ireland, but if you do, oh boy, you're in for a treat. Have you ever come across a Sept or porcini yourself, or is it still on the foraging wish list?
On a foraging trip, our foraging guide actually came across, I'd call it porcini, but you call it porcini, but gave us a taste of it and kind of it concluded it tasted like chicken. Would that be right?
Right. So we're talking about the same beauty. Porcini, Sept, king bullet, all the same delicious mushroom. Some people do describe the flavor as being a bit like chicken, especially because of its meaty texture. It's one of those mushrooms that can really hold its own in a dish, almost like a bit of a chicken breast in terms of bite. But I'd say the flavor is a bit more complex, earthy, nutty, with a little hint of umami. So yeah, if you were comparing it to something familiar like chicken, that'd be spot on in terms of texture, but the flavor brings a whole different level. Did you enjoy it, or were you still leaning more toward your Prince mushroom?
I did enjoy it, but we only found one, so it was a small portion. Come here, I want to change over now to another mushroom that I want you to ID. I think it's just called the wood mushroom. So it's in the same location as the Prince and the shaggy parasol. Can you describe or give me some of the IDs of a wood mushroom?
Ah, you're talking about the wood mushroom, Agaricus sylvaticus. This one's part of the same Agaricus family as the Prince, so it shares some similarities, but there are a few distinct identifiers. Here's what you'll want to look for. 1. Cap. The cap is brownish and it's covered in fine scales, which give it a slightly rough texture. It usually starts out rounded, then flattens out as it matures. Size-wise, it can be around 6 to 10 centimeters across. 2. Gills. Like many Agaricus species, the gills start off a pale pink and darken to chocolate brown as the mushroom matures. They're free from the stem. Strem. The stem is slender and can be slightly bulbous at the base. It also has a thin ring around it, which may disappear in older specimens. 4. Flesh. The flesh of the wood mushroom bruises red when it's cut or damaged, which is a key feature to look out for. After a while, the red can fade into a yellowish tint. 5. Smell. Wood mushrooms have a mild smell, often a bit sweet or mushroomy, but nothing as strong as the almond or aniseed scent of the Prince. Location. As the name suggests, wood mushrooms like woodlands, especially areas with decaying plant material. You'll often find them under conifers or in leaf litter. They can pop up in the same kind of habitats as your Prince and shaggy parasol, particularly in mixed forests or at the edges of clearings. They're edible and tasty, but not quite as highly rated as the Prince or porcini. Still, if they're popping up around you, they make for a fine addition to the pan. Have you come across a few of these in your search?
I have a few of them now. Where would you rate them in terms of 1 to 10, like the last ones? Would it be somewhere down around the 4 mark?
Yeah, you're right on the money there. I give the wood mushroom a 4 out of 10 on the taste scale. It's decent, but it doesn't quite stand out like the Prince or porcini. It's got a mild, classic mushroom flavor, but it lacks the depth and richness of the others. It's the kind of mushroom you'd happily throw into a dish, but it's not going to be the star of the show. Still, if the woods are a bit dry and slim pickings, it's definitely worth cooking up.
Okay.
Would you say it earned its 4 after you've tasted it, or maybe a bit higher for sentimental value?
No, 4 seems about right to me as well. So I'm more or less finished here now anyway. We have enough for our forage and for our food. So you might as well finish off with a mushroom foraging joke for me. Make it a good one.
Sounds like you've got yourself a fine haul for the day. Here's a nice wrap-up for your mushroom forage. After a grand hunt through the woods, with the late summer sun keeping us company, we've gathered enough mushrooms for a good fry-up. From the Prince mushroom holding its place as a 9 out of 10, to the trusty shaggy parasol, and even a few wood mushrooms making an appearance, it's been a day well spent. The ground may be a bit dry, but we made the most of it, and now it's time to cook up our finds with a juicy ribeye. Not too fancy, but just the way we like it, laid back and full of flavor. How does that sound to end your video with a bit of a flourish?
And end it with a joke, will you? A nice foraging mushroom joke.
Of course. How about this one to wrap it up? Well, that's the forage done. I guess you could say I'm a real fun guy to be around. That should leave them with a smile, eh?
Yeah, that's grand. Fair enough. Chuckle, chuckle. Okay, we'll end it there. Thank you. Okay, back in HQ here. We got our ribeye here. There's 2 of them. I'm only going to have one today, but I'm going to cook both of them. Nothing fancy with the cooking, as I mentioned earlier on. In fact, it's going to be very simple. Both of those ribeyes are going into my little mini air fryer, and then the oil from that is going to go into cooking the mushrooms. So I'll just put these into that, put it on full whack, get going, get rid of that plate. Okay, time to dig in. Just a shout out, this is my new favourite stout. Shout out to Paul McGavigan in SuperValue out at the Dublin Road. I only see one pack of this at a time stocked or up on the shelf in the cool area, in the cool room. But yeah, I have to say it's tastier than Guinness. Yeah, that's a tall order, but yeah, it's my new favourite stout. Oh, that's nice. So there you have it. ChatGPT calls it rabbi, but maybe that's what it's called in other countries, but I just used to call it ribeye, but I don't know. So good. Especially that Sept Mushroom. Good.